In this video, I'm going to show you how to pre-populate form fields using custom APIs in Formester, a free AI-powered form builder. With Formester, you can pull data directly from external databases such as Airtable, Notion, Google Sheets, or even Excel, and automatically pre-fill form fields. You can also set up the form in such a way where the form will automatically pre-fill certain fields based on the respondent's input. Now, let's go over and see how to use the API-powered pre-fill feature. So I have logged into my Formester account. Let's open up a form. And I have created a sample employee time off request form. And I have also created a database called employee database in Google Sheets with employee ID, their first name, email, and department. Now, let's say I want to pre-fill this form field, first name, and also the email based on the input the respondent provides to this employee ID. So if they provide 101 as the employee ID, then I want to recall the name John and also their email John Smith and pre-populate these particular fields. So to pre-fill this form, all I have to do is head over to share, then navigate to pre-fill fields. And here I will find two options. I can manually create a pre-fill form URL with specific details, or I can use the API feature. So let's click on the API feature, and this will bring up this UI where I can select the template. So we have Airtable, we have Formester, we have Google Sheets, HubSpot, CRM, Notion, and we can also create our custom API connection. So for this tutorial, let's select the Google Sheets template. Next, we have to configure the API connection. So we have to provide several values such as the spreadsheet ID and the API key in order to create this API connection. And these values will change based on the template or the API connection that you're trying to make. So in case of Airtable, it will ask for base ID and table ID, etc. And in case of Formester, it will ask for the field operator and field value. And in case of HubSpot CRM, it will ask for the search property and form values. So please make sure to read the instructions in the script itself. This will give you a clear picture of where to get these particular values. So I've created a custom API connection between the Google Sheet and this form. So we have the spreadsheet ID, we have the range, and also the API key. For the API key, I created a Google Sheets API, which you can find in console.cloud.google.com. So once you've created your API key, simply head over to manage variables and drop in your API key over here and provide a name to it. Then simply copy this name and go back into the script and drop it over here. So if you want to add any kind of API key in this form, head over to environment variables and add more variables over here. So with this, you can create complex workflows. For example, you can have this form as an intermediate between two different databases. You can fetch data from one database and then you can pre-fill the form and send it to a respondent. And on form submit, you can take the form submission and send it to a different database and fill it out. Or you can also fetch data from multiple databases at once. Next to that, we have the form field variables. Here you will find the unique IDs of all the available questions and fields in this form. We need this ID for the search value variable in the script, which will be used as a key data to fetch other details from the database, such as the employee ID. Simply copy this ID and paste it in the script in the variable search value. We also have this option to set the API trigger and control when this API will be triggered to pre-fill the form. In the dropdown, you will find three different types of triggers. First is on-page load, which will trigger the API as soon as the page loads in the browser. Next, we have on-field change, which will trigger the API once the respondent interacts with a specific field or the question in the form. This can be used to match the data the respondent provides to a specific row in the database and pre-fill the form with those items. Lastly, we have after form submit. This will trigger the API on form submission, which can be used to fetch the form submission and use it to pre-fill other Formester forms. For example, we can take a form submission on a contact form that's in your website and pre-fill the contact details on a client onboarding form or a project request form and embed the new form in an automated email follow-up back to the respondent. This will reduce friction and manual errors in the client onboarding process. For this tutorial, we'll set this trigger to be on field change and we'll select employee ID as the field to watch for, so that we can pre-fill the form with the relevant data to employee ID from the Google Sheets. So if the employee provides their ID as 101, we'll fetch details such as their first name, email, and department and pre-fill the form. Now let's test this API connection. Let's go to manage variables and let's provide a default value to this employee ID. Let's hit save and click on test. And as you can see, the API connection is working and it is fetching details such as first name and email from the Google Sheet. Now let's go ahead and pre-fill the form with the data the API is fetching from the database. First, let's save this and let's go to the builder and we'll dynamically pre-fill the fields first name and email based on the employee ID. So all we have to do is click on the particular field and head over to advanced, and in the default value, make sure it is set to be variable value. Then we can select the dynamic data in this dropdown and we can set the first name as the default value. Next, we can do the same for our email. In the variable default value, we can select default value as email. Now all we have to do is hit publish and let's go to the form. Now let's carry out a test submission. Let's enter a value 101 as the employee ID. And as you can see, the API is pulling the data from the database and it is pre-filling first name and the email. Now, if I change this to be 104, it will pre-fill the fields with different data. Now, all the respondent has to do is fill out the remaining details and hit submit. This is just one of many use cases for this API-powered pre-filling feature. You can use this to create highly advanced forms and save a lot of time by automating repetitive tasks and also reduce manual errors. So that's it for this short tutorial. I hope you found this to be valuable. If you want to try this feature out, make sure to use the link in the description. If you have any questions or comments, kindly drop them in the comment section. As always, I will see you in the next one.